Hello students, today we'll see the next chapter, differential thermal analysis and differential scanning calorimetry. In the previous chapter, we have discussed about the thermogrammetric technique. So this technique, thermogrammetric technique is useful for the analysis of various components, or we can say the various fragments which are present in the given sample. Whenever we have exposed that sample at higher temperature, wide range of temperature, at that time there is a decomposition is going to be takes place, and corresponding curves are obtained, and these corresponding curves gives some kind of basic units, or we can say the components of that particular sample, and hence we can analyze the sample by percentage mass loss with corresponding to that particular sample. So today we will learn about the introduction to the DTA DSC, and we have learned about the historical development with respect to this DTA DSC techniques. Then what is the definition of the differential thermal analysis and differential scanning calorimetry, and finally the application. So let us see one by one. So the first one is the introduction. So when an organic chemical is prepared, it is checked against known material for purity and stability. So this is the uh, very common thing whenever we have analyzed the sample, or whenever we have prepared any organic material, then there is a need to find out the purity and stability. So, one of the easiest way of doing this is to determine its melting point. So, by using melting point, we can say that how much purity of the particular sample is there. So, this cannot be done by TG since it involves no mass change. So, this is the technique by which we have to just check the melting point. If the melting point is correct or similar, at that time we can say that it is a highly pure. So this also depends upon this also applies to the solid-solid phase transition and to some solid-state reactions also. And therefore, we need a technique that identifies these kind of transitions. Okay, such a technique will give us a simple way of identifying and assessing the quality of materials that may be applied across a large range of substances from polymers to metals. The magnitude and the direction of the heat change of the system is more difficult to measure accurately and requires the more elaborate apparatus of calorimetry. So this is the basic thing behind that whenever we have hit that particular sample. So along with that transition from solid to liquid, there are some other transitions are there, such as the solid to solid transitions are there, and hence this kind of transition will identify that particular compound. So we need some kind of technique for the same, and by using this technique we have to identify the quality of materials, and we have to analyze various kinds of materials such as the polymers, metals. Okay, then what is the historical development behind the DT and DSC technique? So the Lavoisier and Laplace is around 1780 allowed the measurement of quantities of the heat energy associated with the changes of state and chemical reaction. So what they did that they have measured the quantities of heat energy whenever they change its state. Is what whenever they will change its state from solid to liquid, then how much amount of energy is changed. So that quantities are measured by using Lavoisier and Laplaces. And there are certain kinds of chemical reactions also. They are studied by these two scientists. So the work of Joule in the 19th century led to the greater understanding of the relationship of heat and work, and the laws governing the electrical heating, which now underlie much thermal analysis, both in control of the furnace and in some DSA apparatus. So that particular heat and work relation determines the particular nature of the sample or content of the sample. So this work is done by the Joule in 19th century. So what happened with this? So as we know that the heat, it is the content, or heat, it is the kind of energy whenever transform, it will cause some amount of work. Okay, so Joule in 19th century given that relation of heat and work, and accordingly there is a much of the work is done, or much of the basic foundation is done by thermal analysis by those scientists. So Joule also pioneered the use of twin calorimeter vessels. Okay, means what? As we know that the calorimeter, it is the vessel which is useful to determine the heat content. Okay, so what he did? He did the twin calorimeter vessel, one containing the reference and other containing the substance, or we can say the sample which is under investigation. So the modern high precision calorimetric apparatus can be very large and complex, and the calculations involve many corrections. So nowadays, laboratory generally requires the opposite of this. Means what? We require small samples, rapid experiments, and simplicity of use with the ace of obtaining results. Means what? The high precision we will require, then we require small samples, and we will get a good result with minimum calculations or minimum corrections in the results. Then next, what is the definition of differential thermal analysis? Okay, so differential thermal analysis, it is the technique in which difference in the temperature between the sample and the reference material is monitored against the time or temperature, while the temperature of the sample in a specified atmosphere is programmed. Is what we have to hit two different one sample and one reference we have to hit, and we have to hit that particular sample at particular temperature, wide range of temperature, and the temperature is somewhat programmed. So, okay, so the TTA curve is generally plot of difference in the temperature as the coordinate against the temperature T, or occasionally in some instances it is a time, as an abscissia, an endothermic event gives an downward peak. So this is the DTA curve where we can say that there is a endo and exothermic reactions are there. When heat is absorbed, at that time the we can get a downward peak. Okay, it is evolved, at that time we can get a upward kind of peak. So this is the typical DTA DSC curve using the convention that endothermic peaks go down indicates differential signal for either temperature or power. So for the DTA it is the temperature, and for DSC it is the power. Okay, so then next one is the differential scanning calorimetry. So differential scanning calorimetry, it is the technique in which difference in the heat flow, that is the power, to a sample, that is a sample which containing pan, and to a reference which is placed in a pan, is monitored against the time or temperature, while the temperature of the sample is in a specified atmosphere is programmed. Means what? We have to heat the particular sample at a temperature about 1100, and the rate of heating of the temperature, it may be 10 degree Kelvin per minute, 20 degree Kelvin per minute, 30 degree Kelvin per minute. So this is the programming of the temperature. So in practice, the heat is supplied to the sample contained in a pan, and similarly to the reference in its pan. Means what? Heat is supplied to the both sample as well as a reference, and then difference in the power we can measure in the DSC. Okay, so there are two types of DSCs are recognized. So the first one is the power compensated DSC, and second one is the heat flux DSC. In the power compensated DSC, what happens? In the power compensated DSC, the sample and the reference are heated by the separate individual heaters. Okay, there are two different heaters we will see in the figure in the next slide. So they have heated in the by using different heaters, and the temperature difference is kept close to zero. Means what? We have to provide some amount of power to keep that temperature zero of both the things. While the difference in the electrical power needed to maintain the equal temperature, that power, it is nothing but the particular particular result of the DSC technique. Means what we have? we have reference in one pan, we have sample in one pan. Okay, so what we have heat the both the particular sample and reference. Okay, at that time we have to do that the temperature difference between the sample and reference we have to kept close to zero. Okay, whenever the temperature difference between these two is zero, there is a some amount of power is needed. That power, it is nothing but our result, or we can say that that is nothing but the differential scaling calorimetric result. So we have to measure the dp is equal, change in the power delta p is equals to d into delta q upon dt. That is delta q means change in the heat content divided by with respect to the temperature. So we can measure that, and by using this power we can analyze that particular sample. Difference in the power, we can analyze the given sample. So this is the particular power compensated DSC. Here we have a sample pan and we have a reference pan. So there are two different individual heaters are there. By using these heaters, this particular heating of the sample and heating of the reference is done. Here we have a platinum sensor, because platinum, it is a highly sensitive sensor, and that's why here we have used the platinum sensor. Okay, so this is the diagram for the power compensated DSC, where we can use individual heaters for the heating sample as well as a reference. Then next one is the next type, that is the heat flux DSC. So what is the basic difference between heat flux and power compensated DSC? So in the heat flux, the sample and reference are heated from the same source. Okay, and the temperature difference T is measured. This signal is converted into power difference delta P using the colorimetric sensitivity. And this constant colorimetric sensitivity is desirable but not essential. So what happened? Basic difference between these two. In the first case, in the power compensated TSC, there is we have to hit the temperature. We have to measure the power difference, which is, or we can say the power which is required to maintain the difference in the temperature of the sample and reference. But here what happened? Here uh, we have to heat the given sample from the sample and reference from the same source, and the signal is converted. That is, the temperature signal is directly converted to power difference using the sensitive calorimeter, and hence we can analyze the given sample by this kind of technique, that is a DSC technique. So the DSC curve has delta P as a coordinate and the temperature or occasionally time as the abscission. So since an endothermic peak involves the absorption of more power by the sample, so one convention plots endothermic peak which is upward, and exothermic peak is one convention plots an exothermic peak which is upwards and endothermic peak is in downwards. So this does cause some confusion, and in this text we shall add up the DTA convention throughout while indicating the sign of the heat flow on the y-axis. Okay, so this here the power and temperature conversion will lead some confusion. That's why generally the DTA conventions used throughout. Then this is the particular heat flux DSC. In that what happens? So these are the heaters. Okay, these are the common heaters, same heaters for the sample and the reference. This is the sample and this is the reference, where we have a chromium wire and aluminum wire are there. So these are the sensors which are used to detect, or we can say to note the temperature of that particular sample. Then these are the heating blocks. This is the thermocouple junction is placed. Then this is the sample pan. This is the reference pan. Here gas purge inlet is there, and there is a dynamic sample chamber is there. This particular silver ring is placed in order to because silver is not reactive too much, that's why silver ring is placed here. And here also thermoelectric disk is placed, which cannot transform, or which cannot, or we can say that it is useful to maintain the temperature of the heat flux DSC. Then next one is the apparatus. So the DTA DSC apparatus consists of following parts, major parts. First one is the DTA DSC sensors plus amplifiers. Then the second one is the furnace and its temperature sensor. Third one is the programmer or computer. And fourth one is the recorder, plotter, or data acquisition device. So the range of designs for DT and DSC is extremely wide and shows the gradation from qualitative DTA to the power compensated DSC, and as shown in the figure. So this is the schematic representation of DTA DSC, where delta B is indicates the differential signal in the power of, we can say, the temperature. Okay, so this is the furnace. We have see that similar manner in the thermogrammetric instrument. There also the furnace, which is covered by that particular sample and reference. Here is the gas outlet is there. Okay, then this is the programmer. This is a sensor, amplifier, and recorder, or we can say the computer. So look at what happened. This programmer is connected to the furnace to define the program for the increase in the temperature. Then these are the sensor amplifier, which are helpful to detect the temperature temperature of that particular sample. Then weight of that particular sample whenever it will be lost, and then this response is sent to the sensor amplifier, and it sends the response to the recorder. Then the programmer has response to the recorder, or we can say the computer or data acquisition device. So let us see one by one. So as shown in the figure 5, thermocouples are used as a sample and the reference sensor for the many DT and DSC units. Okay. So for low temperature, copper constant and or chromel aluminum have been used as a sensor, while for the higher temperature, or we can say the more aggressive environment, that is a reactive environment, platinum 13%, rhodium kind of sensors have been generally used. Then single thermocouples are in contact with the sample in A and B, but outside in type C and E. Some Mettler Setram DSC units are used in the multiple thermocouples or thermophiles D and E to increase the signal. The Borsema DTA, where the heat is conducted to the pans via a conducting metal disc, it is used in the several kinds of apparatus. The exceptional case is the power compensated DSCF, where sensors are platinum resistors and power is supplied to the sample and the reference separately. So these are the DTA-DSC series thermocouples, then thermophiles and heaters. So these are the A and B thermocouples which are directly in contact with the sample. So these are outside of the particular sample. So in the D and E, is the thermophiles are placed, while in case of F, there is a heaters are there in case of power compensated DSC. Then sensors, where the dividing line should be drawn between DT and DSC is debatable, but several different manufacturers have shown that their instruments satisfy the requirements of DSC by determining the colorimetric data with good accuracy. Then pans and crucibles of many material have been employed, but majority of the low temperature instrument use aluminum pans and lids, provided they are not attacked by the samples and are only used well below the melting point of the aluminum, that is 660 degrees Celsius. For more aggressive environments, platinum or ceramic crucibles may be used. The conductivity of the crucibles and their contact with the sensors affect the thermal analysis curves obtained. Then sensors, a standard experimental experiment might involve a sample of about 10 to 20 mg of a powder or a disc punched from a polymer film or bundle of fibers being placed in a wet aluminum crucible, and total mass should be recorded. Sometimes an inner liner is placed on the top of the sample to enable the sample to make better contact with the base. The lid may be fixed to the base using simple press and can give a sealed crucible capable of withstanding about 2 atmospheric pressure. If vaporization is not a problem, small pinholes can be punched in the lid to allow escape of gas products and reaction with the surrounding purge gas. Special crucibles have been designated for containing higher pressures or for mixing liquids or for observing the sample during the heating. Liquids may be injected into the crucible using a syringe. Then next one is the furnace and controller. So similarly, what we have seen in the TG, this instrument, this furnace and controller having a similar kind of role. So for high temperature DTA, large ceramic line electrically heated furnaces are used with electronic control. Many small DSC systems use the resistance heated furnaces enclosed of silver. So the very high thermal conductivity of silver ensures that there is a uniform temperature is distributed in the given instrument. So for the simplest DTA, a metal block wound with the insulated heating element and having a two wells for the sample reference cell and thermocouple gives the satisfactory introduction to the principle of the DTA. So generally, the heating rate between 0 to 100 Kelvin per minute are used, but the normal rate is about 10 Kelvin per minute for the better results. One extra feature is the use of DTA or DSC below room temperature. So this is one of the advantage of DTA DSC as far as if you consider the thermogrammetry is always used above the room temperature. So a cooling accessory or refrigeration unit is fitted around the cell and the wall is cooled directly with the liquid nitrogen or other coolants. So it is essential that dry purge gas is passed through the cell assembly during the cooling since the condensation of water or ice onto the cell might otherwise occur. Then next one is the computer and display. So the need for the computer control and rapid data acquisition is most important with DSC since the signal must be converted to delta P. So why this is required? So the temperature signal should be converted into power signal, and that's why we need some kind of sophisticated computer control. So using a colorimetric sensitivity stored in the software, the curves that are obtained must be analyzed for the thermal parameters by differentiation. Means what, to obtain an onset temperature, for example, and by integration we get the peak areas. Okay, so this is the role of the computer and the display. Then the next one is the reference material. Both DT and DSC are defined as a differential method where behavior of the reference material or pan is compared with that of the sample and its pan, and hence the reference material has its most importance in the differential thermal analysis and differential scanning calorimetry. So we must take into account all the thermal properties that might be involved. For example, the emissivity of the sample may alter if it changes phase or reacts or changes color. This is often avoided by covering both samples and the reference pan with snugly fitting lids or by sealing them. In many cases, small samples may be run on the DSC against an empty pan as a reference, but often better results are obtained by using an inert reference material of similar thermal properties in the reference crucible. For many applications, pure, dry, preheated, or we can say the calcium alumina L2O3 is satisfactory for the reference material. Along with that, carborundum silicon carbide have been also used occasionally to make the thermal properties of the sample and the reference more comparable. The sample may be diluted with the reference. So it is obviously important that they should not react, the reference should not react, and the dilution sometimes improves the baseline and the peak shape in the DTA experiment. Okay, so this is all about the instrumentation, or we can say the apparatus of the DTA and DSC. Okay, So in the next lecture, we will discuss about some theories behind the DT and DSC. That is how the heat flux works and how the power compensated DSCs works. Okay, thank you. We'll meet on the next lecture. Thank you.